Hi, welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off. Now we're going to look at problems 3 and 4, which are looking at flexible budget variances. This is a difficult topic. There's a couple of things that we need to understand first, and that's some key terms. When we're talking about our static budget, we're looking at the information that we have before anything happens. So we need to develop some standards or static to use for our static budget. These are standard cost, standard materials, and standard labor, rates, and usage. For example, we're assuming that we're going to sell 1,500 units, and our price is going to be $30 per unit. And for direct materials, we're going to assume that we need 2.5 pounds of material in order to produce 1 unit. And each pound of material is going to cost $1.50. And for direct labor, we're going to assume that it takes 1.25 hours, and we're paying our employees a rate of $12 per hour. So we're looking at total costs of $5,625 for direct materials and direct labor of $22,500. We need to remember that direct materials are looking at the amount of the raw material, not the amount of units. So in this case, if we were looking at usage, it would be 2.5 pounds times the units that we're looking at. Our actual results tell us that we actually sold 1,550 units. Our revenue was $49,600. Our direct materials cost $69.44, and our direct labor cost $24,955. The assumptions here say that the company actually used 4,340 pounds of material at $1.60 per pound, and it took a total of 2,170 hours to produce those 1,550 units sold at a rate of $11.50 per hour. If we were to compare just these two, we would assume that our revenue would be up and our costs would be up because we sold more than we thought we would. To compare actual to apples, we need to translate this information into a flexible budget. We need to look at what we think it should cost us to produce 1,550 units and how much we should have collected in revenue for that amount of units. So the key to the flexible budget and looking at flexible budget variances is to always start with the actual units. We can forget about what we budgeted here. Okay, we're going to look at the actual. So let's calculate our sales revenue. Well, what was our assumption for sales price? We sold 1,500 at $45. So our standard sales price could be calculated as $45,000 divided by 1,500 units. So our standard sales price was $30. So we'll take our actual units times the $30. Now let's calculate our direct materials, what we think we should have spent on direct materials selling 1,550 units. So we're going to take the number of units and we're going to apply our assumptions. So we assume that it's going to cost us $1.50 per pound, and we would have used 2.5 pounds. So it should actually have cost us $5,812.50. Now let's look at direct labor. Again, start with the 1,550, and our assumptions tell us that it takes 1.25 hours, and the rate is $12 per hour. So that gives us a cost of $23,250. Now let's calculate our variances. There will be no variance for the sales units because our actual becomes what we're basing our assumptions off of. So our actual versus our flexible for sales revenue is $3,100. We thought we would get $46,500 and we actually got $49,600. So that's a favorable variance. We actually spent $69.44 on direct materials, and we thought we should have spent $5,812. So that's an unfavorable variance because we spent more than we thought we would. And then labor, we spent $24,955 versus what we thought we should have spent of $23,250. And again, that's unfavorable because we spent more than we should have based on our original assumptions. So that's how you prepare a flexible budget. Now, let's look at the next step. I'm sorry, that should be problem number 3. It asks us to calculate the direct materials usage and price variances and the direct labor rate and efficiency variances. So what does that mean? Well, we have direct materials total variance. We just calculated our direct materials total variance right here, $1,131.50. That's made up of a usage and a price variance. What that means is that this variance is driven by the amount of material that we use to produce each product, as well as how much it cost us for that material. So the formula for usage is actual price times actual quantity minus standard quantity. Let's take a look at what that means. Our actual price, how much did we actually spend on our raw materials? Well, let's go back to our assumptions. It says that the company actually used 4,340 pounds of material at $1.60 per pound. So that means it cost us $1.60. The actual quantity that we used, so this is not units, this is the quantity of raw materials that we bought. So we bought 4,340 pounds for the 1,550 units, minus our standard quantity. Our standard quantity can be calculated based on the standard of how many pounds we think we should have used times the actual number of units. Again, going back to using the flexible budget. So it's going to be 1,550 times this 2.5 pound assumption. That's our standard assumption. Okay? So we can also calculate our standard quantity here with 2.5 times 1,550 pounds. So we actually expected that we would use 3,875 pounds of material for 1,550 units. You can see here that we actually used 4,340. That gives us a variance of 744, and that's unfavorable because we ended up using more material than we thought we would. Let's look at our price. Actual quantity times standard hour Okay, I'm sorry, here I wrote the formula wrong. It's actually our standard price. So the standard price is 1.5. Sorry about that. So our actual quantity is going to be our price variance is going to be our actual quantity times our actual price minus our standard price. So again, we're not looking at the number of units, we're looking at the materials that we use. So our actual quantity is going to be the amount of material that we use, which was 4,340 pounds. So equals 4,340 pounds times our actual price of 160 per pound minus our standard price of 150 per pound. So that gives us a variance of $434. Again, it cost us more than we thought it should, so it's going to be an unfavorable variance. Look what happens when you add these two together. $1,131.50, which equals exactly our direct materials total variance. That's how you can check if you've done this part correctly. It should always equal the total variance because the total variance is made up of how much you used and how much it costs you. Now let's look at direct labor. Again, we're going to have our rate variance and our efficiency variance. Rate is looking at how much you paid per hour, and efficiency is looking at how many hours you spent. So our direct labor is 1,705. The rate formula is our um, actual, standard hours times our actual rate minus our standard rate. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. It's actual hours times our actual rate minus our standard rate. So we know that our actual hours are 2170. We're going to multiply that by our actual rate of 11.50 per hour. That's how much we actually paid our workers. And what we thought we would pay them of $12 per hour. So minus $12. Okay. So we actually ended up paying our workers less than what we thought we would. So this is actually a favorable variance. Now let's look at our efficiency variance. Our efficiency variance is going to be our standard rate times our actual hours minus our standard hours. Okay, so let's calculate our standard rate. That is going to be our $12. Okay, and then our actual hours was given us to us. It's 2,170. Now we need to calculate our standard hours. Again, our standard hours are going to start with the flexible budget actual units times how much we think it should have spent to make those units, which is 1.25. You can also calculate the standard hours here by taking the 1550 times the 1.25. So it actually should have spent 1,937.50 hours. So you could see that the actual hours that we did spend is higher than what we should have spent. So this is an unfavorable variance. So we're going to add those together. And we're going to get 1705, which again is equal to our total variance. Okay? If these had the same sign in front of them, then you would just simply subtract them instead of adding them. So that's how you prepare a flexible budget and then the direct materials and direct labor variances. And we'll go through problem number 5 in another video. Thank you.